Some frames feel calm before anything even happens. Others feel tense before anyone speaks. Nothing has moved, no line has been delivered, but your body already knows how to feel. That isn't performance, it isn't music, it isn't editing, it's structure. Order and chaos are never accidental in great films. They're designed into the frame long before the camera rolls. And the reason you feel that difference so quickly is because of how the frame itself is organized. In the last episode, we talked about how the eye is controlled, where it lands, where it moves. But once attention enters the frame, it needs something to stand on.
Now you have my attention.
Structure is the invisible architecture of a shot. It's how visual weight is distributed. It's how balance is maintained or disrupted. It's how elements relate spatially. Structure answers a different question. Does this world feel stable, or does it feel unstable? That feeling is never random. It's built. And one of the clearest ways filmmakers create that stability inside a frame is through symmetry. Stay with us until the end of this video, because before we close out, we have something for you. Something we built specifically for filmmakers who don't want to just understand these ideas, but want a complete system to apply them. You'll want to see it. But first, let's finish building the foundation. Symmetry is the clearest expression of order. When both sides of the frame mirror each other, the image immediately feels stable. Centered subjects, equal spacing, balanced negative space. There's no confusion, no imbalance, just control. Look at the work of Wes Anderson. In films like Moonrise Kingdom, characters are often placed directly in the center of the frame. Everything feels measured, precise, carefully composed. The symmetry creates a sense that the world itself is organized. Now consider Stanley Kubrick in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Long corridors, perfectly aligned architecture, balanced geometry stretching into the distance. The calm is almost hypnotic. Because perfect order can feel sterile, controlled, even oppressive. Symmetry communicates authority, certainty, dominance. When a character stands centered in a perfectly ordered frame, the image tells us something before the story even begins. This world is under control. And that's a composition decision. Symmetry isn't just an aesthetic preference. It's a statement about the world inside your frame. So, how do you recreate this yourself? First, find your axis before you place your camera. Look for doorways, corridors, staircases, windows, or architecture that naturally mirrors itself. These are your symmetry anchors. Second, place your camera dead center on that axis. Not slightly left, not slightly right. Center. Your viewfinder should feel like a mirror. Third, place your subject on the axis. When the subject sits on the center line, they inherit the authority of the symmetry. The frame organizes itself around them. Fourth, watch your background. If your subject is centered but the background is uneven, the symmetry breaks. Both planes, subject and environment, need to align. And fifth, use symmetry with intention. Ask yourself, does this character need to feel powerful, controlled, trapped inside order? Because symmetry always communicates something. If you don't decide what it communicates, the audience will feel it anyway. They just won't feel what you intended. When you choose symmetry, you're telling your audience, someone or something is in control here. Use it deliberately, and it becomes one of the most powerful tools in your frame. Now remove that balance. Shift the subject off-center. Add visual weight to one side. Let darkness dominate half the frame. Suddenly, something feels wrong. Asymmetry creates instability. It makes the viewer subconsciously search for balance. Look at the Dark Knight interrogation scene. The imbalance of the frame mirrors the psychological tension. Or in Prisoners, directed by Denis Villeneuve, characters are often pushed to one side of the frame, with heavy negative space pressing against them. That space isn't empty, it's pressure. When balance disappears, the audience feels it physically. Order creates calm. Imbalance creates tension. So asymmetry isn't a mistake, it's a choice. When you push a character to the edge of the frame, you're not framing them badly, you're framing their psychological state. The composition is doing what the dialogue doesn't have to. Before we go further, let me say something important for a moment. If you're a filmmaker who watched the previous episode on control and this one on structure, and you're still guessing where the camera should go, you're not alone. Many filmmakers end up reshooting scenes again and again because something feels wrong in the frame, but they can't explain what it is. That's exactly why we created the Shot Composition Bible. This is not a PDF of filmmaking tips you already know, repackaged with a new cover. This is a complete system. It contains 11 parts, 30 chapters, and over 400 real film frames and diagrams. Every single one broken down to show you not just what great composition looks like, but exactly why it works, and how you can control your audience's attention, emotion, and understanding through the way you design your shots. So if you've ever watched your work get skipped or ignored while other filmmakers get the recognition, the clients, and the respect, or if you've ever reshot a scene over and over again because something was wrong, but you couldn't explain what it was, then this was built for you. Click the link in the description to learn more and reserve your copy of the Shot Composition Bible before the pre-order closes. Now, let's continue. Imbalance alone isn't the only way to create tension. Sometimes, filmmakers push even further. They introduce chaos. But chaos doesn't mean randomness. Great directors don't throw disorder into a frame carelessly. They design it. Look at Mad Max Fury Road, directed by George Miller. On the surface, everything feels chaotic. Dust, fire, movement everywhere. But notice something. The main subject is almost always centered. The horizon stays controlled. Movement pushes inward toward the frame. That's structured chaos. Now look at 1917, directed by Sam Mendes. In the moment when Schofield runs across the battlefield while soldiers charge from the trenches, the scene looks completely chaotic. Soldiers running, explosions erupting, bodies colliding. But the frame itself is carefully controlled. Movement flows in one direction. The horizon stays stable, and the subject remains visually anchored. Even inside chaos, the composition still guides the eye, because chaos still has architecture. Randomness is noise. Designed chaos is tension. This is what separates a director from someone operating a camera. Anyone can point a lens at action and let it fill the frame. But a director asks, even inside this chaos, where is the eye? Even inside this disorder, what does the audience feel? The frame doesn't stop being a composition just because the scene gets loud. If anything, that's when composition matters most. Every element in your frame has weight. Large shapes feel heavy. Dark areas feel heavy. Clusters of objects feel heavy. Negative space can feel heavy. When one side of the frame carries more weight than the other, pressure is created. And pressure creates emotion. Imagine a character placed at the extreme edge of the frame. Most of the image is empty space behind them. That imbalance feels unstable. Now place them centered, balanced by architecture. The instability disappears. Structure isn't decoration, it's emotional engineering. In part 1, we learned that the eye follows points and lines. Now you understand what it finds when it arrives. Weight, pressure, balance, or the deliberate absence of it. Every placement decision you make inside the frame is telling the audience how to feel about what they're seeing. That's not accident. That's composition. In the next episode, we go deeper. Because once attention is controlled and structure is designed, we add dimension, depth, power, emotion. That's where composition stops being visual and becomes psychological. If this changed the way you see composition, take a second to like the video and subscribe to Breadfruit Studios so you don't miss what comes next. And tell us in the comments, what's one thing you'll start doing differently in your shots?